Kia ora, welcome back. Today we've got Frank on the call. Frank has just very recently completed the 30-day Te Reo Māori Bootcamp course online. Kia ora, Frank.
Kia ora, Grant.
Frank's down in Sydney, so we do get a lot of Māori and Pākehā here in Australia. So Frank's down in Sydney, not too far from where I'm at actually. So yeah, it's been good to work with Frank over the last month, and we're going to go through some questions and just catch up with Frank and see what his experiences were like during the course. So we'll jump into it, eh, bro?
Yeah, bro.
Cool.
Far away.
So before you started the course, what were things like for you around Te Reo and Te Ao Māori and all those sorts of things? Like what was life like before you did the course?
Life in regards to Te Reo, like I would probably, well, Māori's been a big part of my life, obviously in patches throughout my life. So if I was to go back, I grew up in a small community and a big whānau, so there was Māori around. My father's half caste, so he's half Pākehā, half Māori. My mother is also half caste as well, half Chinese and half Māori. So I guess in a way I grew up with a few identities, and obviously Māori being one of them. And I say in patches because as I grew up, would go to tangis and would be exposed to some kapahakas as well. But just little and small patches. We never spoke Te Reo at home. My parents never learnt it, but would pick up the odd word or kupu at school or from friends. So I guess it was there. And then obviously once I kind of finished going overseas, and just I think when I was overseas, I also got to meet other friends and get, and I think you had to always tell people where you're from, and and Māori was a big identity for people to know that while you're overseas. So I think that kind of grew a lot on me. And then probably about I would say about 6 months ago, I started really thinking about digging into Te Reo and really wanted to learn as much as I could. I'm lucky that I've got an auntie that I reached out to that is a kaiako, and so she kind of has been helping me on this little journey and like pointing me in directions as well, and just helping me pick up as much as I can on the way. So that was probably what I've and then I've obviously in that 6 months I kind of come across a lot of your stuff that you've got online, and just taking and absorbing a lot of that information that you've got out there. And that's how I come across your course.
Cool, bro. That's really interesting to hear that sort of identity piece that you're talking about there. Having Māori on your father's side. And what about the Chinese? What about the Chinese side?
Well, actually, that was actually when I was a lot younger. That was probably a bit more dominant on my mother's side. We spent a lot of our holidays with my grandfather, who was full Chinese, and he worked as a market gardener, so he would get us working in the gardens and stuff like that. So, and then we grew up with obviously the kai and the food, Chinese food all the time. So I guess I was pushed in that direction a lot more when I was younger. And the only other time, as I got a little bit older, it would start to get a few other influences, obviously the Māori influences as well through school and that. So, but Chinese was it still is a kind of a big influence as well. I'm actually married to a Chinese woman as well, so it's still part of our life.
Cool, bro. And so did you grow up speaking Chinese, or
no, unfortunately not. Again, that was probably we would learn certain phrases and words, that and would pick up and just absorb through listening to my grandfather speak his Chinese, and they actually never passed it on to my mother, which is really sad, and either my uncles as well. And funny enough, my grandmother, who was married to my Chinese grandfather, was actually fluent in Māori. So it was just really unfortunate that they never passed any of their language on to my parents, which obviously would have passed on to me. So I think I mean, you probably know most, that it was just that era that we went through, in New Zealand. I think it was just kind of, in a way saying that, the way to go is to speak Pākehā. And that was kind of shown in, schools as well. So it was just really, sad that kind of happened. Which kind of, I guess, brings me, I think one of the things that you did on our course, which was to find out our why. And that was probably a big kind of surprise to me, actually, that I actually found that really, really beneficial to me, because I think when I started off and I was going through my why, and I just kind of gave you I think I gave you a short answer of like, I'm trying to just learn it for my tamariki and my kids. So I kind of, and then I think you gave me a response like, dig a little bit deeper, and where does, what does it mean to you? And it kind of made me actually think about, my past, which not only my mother's mother spoke fluent Māori, my father's grandmother mother also spoke fluent Māori. So, I came from, where we used to go for holidays at both our grandparents' place, and we would, hang around with our grandparents, and they would, speak Pākehā to us, but it was really the old, the te reo would come out, when they're a little bit, obviously, if you've done something naughty or something like that, it'll come out, and you'll be like, oh, okay. And so you learn those words pretty quickly. And so it was just really strange. And I actually, I remember going up to one of my koias and going up to me and her and saying, oh, why don't you ever, teach us your tongue, your te reo? And she would, and I still remember her response was like, oh, why would you want to learn te reo? It was just, in her mind, it was like, it's not going to benefit you in a way. Like, she thought the way of the future was just, and I don't blame her. That was just, again, that was just something that it was kind of pushed, in our, in that day and age, that, Pākehā was the way to go. So, and I guess in a way that helped, if I was to look at a little bit, I had opportunities to, take up the learning of te reo, and I would always kind of have those opportunities put in front of me. That's, and in a way that was kind of in the back of my mind. My nan said to me, it's probably not really worth learning as much. And as as I got a little bit older, you get a little bit obviously wiser and stuff, and you kind of figure out, it's a beautiful language, and you can obviously learn a lot from not just Māori, but learning another language. And so far, the stuff I've learned, the whakataukis that you learn and stuff, it's just a beautiful language. So, and that was kind of just a long
Sorry, Whānau, we just had a little technical interruption. Yeah, bro, that's a beautiful story, eh? And
Yeah, no,
it's yeah, it is a bit sad that there was that generation that went through that sort of had something that wasn't passed on in a lot of cases, but that only presents us with the opportunities that we have here today to move forward and learn it for ourselves and reignite that
yeah,
fire.
and that's a big reason. Like, I want to try and obviously change that in a way, and hopefully influence my kids and see if they take on the language, and that's really just kind
Sorry, Whānau, we've
yeah.
had some more technical difficulties, a bit of lag, but that's okay. So yeah, bro, I think that's a great story, and you've got that really unique blend there of your Māori whakapapa and your Chinese whakapapa, and then I think you said before your wife is Chinese, so you fellas are in a really good position to reignite ignite what wasn't there for you growing up, across probably both of those languages, I would say. I'm sure you'll go a long way with Te Reo,
Yeah,
and
yeah, no, definitely.
you'll start with Chinese and bro, you'll learn it in half the time. Cool, bro. So you saw the course, looked at it and thought, okay, it might jump on. Were there any obstacles for you before you jumped on? Anything that may have held you back?
Look, I mean, I guess when I first saw the course, two kind of things that probably, well, I wouldn't say held me back, but it's just like it's something that I really thought about, and I guess what first one came to me was time. I guess time is always the issue whenever you kind of take something on, and then yeah, like time and just trying to find that time. What was I going to have to sacrifice to do a course? But then you kind of look into it, and it's a 30-day course, and it actually goes really quickly. And to find it the time, it was just a matter of getting up a little bit earlier than you normally do. So and then I think the second one was actually when I was looking into it and thinking about what if it was suitable for myself, because I had taken up a little bit of a journey a little bit before with my auntie and that, and I had been exposed to a bit of Te Reo, and I didn't know what level I was, to be honest. I would say, so I had to really kind of look into thinking, oh, is this going to be a waste of your time? Back, looked in and listened to some of these testimonials that you've had, that people have said, and kind of got a bit of information from those things, like what was in the course. And when I heard things like sentence structures a lot, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's definitely where I need help in. So that really kind of got me to cross over the line, just go, okay, yeah, I need some help in that area. And just listening and watching some of the YouTube videos, and how your style of teaching is obviously, I think, well, very, very relatable to me. Well, I'm just assuming here that you started your journey a little bit later in life, not as a kid, and you didn't speak as a kid. And I was just thinking, oh, okay, someone like yourself who has kind of started a little bit later, and just grew up speaking Pākehā, and the way that you're kind of comparing a lot of a lot of the words to the Māori kupu and the way that you related some of that stuff on your YouTube channel kind of really resonated with me. So yeah, that was answered my second kind of reservation of why to sign up for the course, and went, oh, okay, this is definitely something that's gonna, help me or accelerate my learning.
Yeah, bro. I started much later in life. It was after my my first son was born that it kind of just dawned on me that, hey, I didn't like not knowing that as a kid. I didn't like feeling like that I was at a distance from our culture, and the only way I could change that was if I got up and did it myself and taught my kids what they didn't have. And I went through a long period of I guess going through lots of different resources and looking. I was probably had analysis paralysis. I had all these different things in front of me, different books and videos and online things and PDFs and all the rest of it. I guess the formation of this course came from having so many resources out there and compiling, what I thought would have worked best for me. Like if I had to start again, what would work best for me? And that's really the basis of this whole course. And people like that have done it like yourself actually get a lot out of it. And it's essentially validated that the structure is pretty much bang on for beginners.
Yeah. But I mean, even I would say, I don't know, some of the stuff that you mentioned though, it helps. Like I had learned a couple of things that you had that you mentioned or that we do through the course, but it kind of clarified a lot of the stuff that I had learnt and helped me see in a different way, and that was really like a highlight that I enjoyed about the course and the content that was in it. It just made things a little bit clearer, because obviously, coming from that style of you comparing words, English words to some of the Māori words and the way that the structure is done. Where I found, just with some of the other kaiako that I've learnt from or seen or listened to, I can tell that they have grown up speaking te reo and just have a different way of conversing and teaching. So that's how I kind of distinguish between your styles of teaching.
There's definitely a gap that needs to be bridged, and it's going from what you do know to what you don't know. And it just makes it a lot easier if you can show the relationship between the two, rather than just throwing everything at you that you don't know and going, well, figure this out. That can be a lot harder. Whereas if you can sort of massage the two together and blend the two together, you're coming from a position of something that you understand, and you're slowly introducing it to concepts that you don't understand. And I think that blended model sort of makes it easier for second language learners. Yeah, bro. Cool, bro. So going through the course, got to the end of it. For you personally, what was the biggest thing you got out of it?
Well, probably the biggest was that why that I just mentioned before. Surprisingly, that was just a huge kind of tick, and helps me kind of put myself in that mindset of, and I think it's going to benefit me later on in this journey. When things are a little bit harder, or or I get a little bit tired or something like that, it just helps me kind of keep that motivation up. But otherwise, I think meeting like-minded people. I'm a big believer on, like, if you want to learn something, try and surround yourself with people that have common has a journey that's common to you. Maybe do it for different reasons, but if you can find a community, and that also helps with that learning. So like those accountability groups that we got put into, or we volunteered and put ourselves into. I think I got pretty lucky with finding a group that was wanting to obviously learn as much as they can in Te Reo. And, you know, even now, after a few weeks has been finished, we're still touching base with each other and just, you know, trying to go through, you know, we're actually trying to do the course again, and just kind of clarify a few things and help one another. So really trying to, yeah, like finding that community and you know, not just the accountability groups. I'll probably reach out to other guys in that group as well. But yeah, I really think that was kind of a big benefit from the course.
Mm. Good, bro. That's great. You've been able to stay in touch with those guys, Mark and Dave.
I'm hoping they don't live too far away from me, so hopefully I can catch up to them face to face after this whole COVID thing. But
bro.
You know, it'll be good to actually meet them in the flesh.
Yeah, bro. Mark actually lives about 100 meters from me.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he lives about.
I'm gonna knock on your door then.
Yeah, bro. Couple will be on, bro. Kettle will be on. Cool, bro. And so the next question, what specific feature of the course did you like most? And I think you've just answered it there, the accountability groups. It sounds like, you know, you go through the course and you can do the course, but it doesn't stop there. You know, how am I gonna implement what I've learned? How am I gonna move forward with that? I could just go and do another course and do another course and perpetually do courses, or I could, you know, solidify what I have learned and move forward with that. And it sounds like the connections you made there with the accountability group will really help you, really help propel you forward, you know, on that path.
Oh yeah, definitely will. I think also another highlight I thought was, you know, what you just mentioned before about the resources you have on that course. I can tell that you've obviously spent a lot of time working out which resources would benefit us in a way or accelerate our learning. And you know, I think that I can tell that those resources help me a lot as well. And as mentioned, other courses finished, but I still go to those resources, and you know, there's plenty of like video content as well that I can keep going through. And that's a huge plus, because you've spent that time going through resources and learning which has worked for you and which hasn't. It's saved us a lot of time and a lot of, you know, energy just to kind of go through information, because obviously the internet, you can get, you know, so much information and a little bit of information overload. So you know, you find tuning those resources and telling us where to go definitely helps and it definitely accelerates the learning. Yeah,
definitely, bro. That is bang on. That's the intention of the course, is to help people move from confusion to clarity, and the quickest way to do that is by giving you resources that I know work, and I know will help accelerate that path forward. So yeah, bro. It's, in my opinion, it's the best of the best in terms of resources that we go through. So cool, bro. So getting to the end of the course, now that you've finished it, if someone were to ask you whether they should take the course, would you recommend it to them? And if yes, why so?
Oh yeah, look, that's a definite yes. So I'll tell them to definitely take it up, and really kind of I guess in a way also, you know, take it. You've got a huge amount of content already that you have online, and you get to know a lot of information already before the course, and really to take that time to have a look at that information. And as I mentioned before, I could see that your style of teaching resonated with me, and to really kind of see if that does does that for yourself as well. So yeah, definitely I would recommend it. I would tell them, yeah, to look at those resources and that information that you already have out there. And because I think the course is just basically a continuation of what you've got out there. So yeah, and that's and also from, if you've got a similar the background to us, learning, well, this is my second language, so you know, if you haven't learned a language before and English is the only language you've learnt, I think yeah, it's definitely a way to kickstart your learning of Te Reo. And the other why I think it would benefit is just because I think we were speaking a little bit earlier that it puts you in that mindset of giving you a routine. It was a 30-day course, and the day started fairly early, where you'd send out the lesson, would read the lesson, it'll go through the activities, and then, you know, give you a bit of homework. So in that kind of order, so it disciplines you straight from the get-go, and then if you can do 30 days of that non-stop, it just helps you after you finish that 30 days to kind of do a little bit every day, because if you're anything like me, if you're not, you know, learning a little bit every day, then it kind of you end up losing it. So I think it definitely helps you put in that routine and that mindset to continue, or, you know, advance your learning.
Yeah, bro. Like it's 30 days, and for a lot of people, the start of it can be quite overwhelming. But I guess the early starts and the daily work, having to work through that every day, it like you said, it just helps to build, like, change the behavior to start with, and then help to build new routines. And, you know, it might take 5 days to get into it, might take 15 days to get into it, but eventually by the end of it, you actually got yourself into a good routine. And you know, you are reading every day, you're learning new kupu every day, you're starting to or you are watching, you know, 100% Te Reo content every day, and you're building up that immersion environment without ever actually physically having to be somewhere that, you know, people would normally consider being an immersion environment. You're doing it yourself at home. So yeah, it's just one of those things, bro, that I found can work really well. Just building that immersion environment, changing behaviors, and learning some new disciplines around learning Te Reo Māori.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool, bro. So that's it for all of the questions. Anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up? People watching this at home in 12 months' time, 2 years' time, 10 years' time. Maybe your kids are watching this when they're teenagers.
Oh, look, I mean, I just want to encourage everyone to, like, learn, keep learning. I think, you know, we're really lucky to live in a day and age that you can learn a lot of stuff, information that we have online. And it just, I don't know, as I've gotten older, I just wanted to keep your mind active, learning stuff. So I just want to encourage people to go and learn something, whether it be a language or whether it be a skill, you know, just keep your mind active. Kaore he mutanga o te huarahi o te ako, which means learning is an endless journey. So I definitely think that's the case for myself anyway.
Very wise words to finish on, bro. Keep learning. Never stop learning. Cool, bro.
And yeah, just a big mihi to you as well, Grant, because obviously, as I mentioned before, that all that information that you give out to the internet world and stuff, it's really beneficial to, you know, like, even if if you don't even do the course and you follow that content that you've got out there, it's amazing. Like it really is, and that's a tribute to you that putting that stuff out there, because I think it helps a lot of people. Learning different kupus, learning sentence structures. It's you've got a lot of stuff out there. So big thank you to you, Grant.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. That's my absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Okay.
Cool, bro. Thank you for jumping on. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to share your story. To anyone out there that might be watching at home, anyone that might be considering doing the course, cool to hear about your Chinese connection, bro. That's really, really fascinating, and definitely.
Yeah.
I'm expecting that you'll be exploring in a lot more detail. So, kia ora, bro. Thank you very much, and we'll talk next time. Cheers,
Kia ora,
bro.
Grant.